In a picturesque Italian city, Rina and Andy, a married couple in their early 30s, make the bold decision to open their relationship in hopes of rekindling passion and intimacy. As they cautiously navigate this new dynamic, Rina meets Daniel, a charismatic Italian man who unexpectedly awakens deep emotional stirrings within her. Torn between loyalty to her husband and her growing feelings for Daniel, Rina finds herself emotionally conflicted. When Andy discovers intimate messages between Rina and Daniel, the fragile trust between them shatters, leading to a confrontation filled with pain and betrayal. In the aftermath, Rina is overwhelmed with regret and desperately seeks forgiveness, hoping to repair the love she fears she may have lost forever. The sun was setting over the rooftops of Florence, casting a golden hue across the city skyline. Inside a modern apartment overlooking the Arno River, Rina and Andy sat across from each other on a cream-colored sofa. The room was warm and tastefully decorated, filled with gentle shadows as the evening light filtered through sheer curtains. The air was heavy, not with anger or resentment, but with uncertainty and something deeper, a quiet yearning. Rina tucked a strand of her long black hair behind her ear and looked into Andy's piercing blue eyes. He was silent, his hands clasped together, leaning slightly forward as if bracing himself. She took a breath. "I think we've lost something," she said softly. "Not love, but spark." Andy nodded slowly, not breaking eye contact. "I know. I've felt it too." They had been married for 8 years. Their life was full of shared routines, quiet dinners, and weekend trips, but something had faded, an intimacy neither of them could fully articulate. They had tried therapy, taken vacations, even reignited old hobbies, but nothing seemed to reach the core of the emptiness. Rina hesitated, then continued. "I read about couples who open their marriages. Not because they stop loving each other, but because they want to explore themselves. And somehow, reconnect." Andy's jaw tightened, then relaxed. He looked out the window, the skyline reflecting in his eyes. "Are you saying, you want to try that?" "I don't know," she admitted. "I'm scared. But I'm also curious. Aren't you?" The silence between them stretched long. A siren echoed faintly from the streets below. Andy finally spoke, his voice low. "Maybe curiosity is better than indifference. Maybe it's a way to find each other again." That night, as the city fell asleep, they agreed to open a door they had never dared to approach before. It was a choice made not out of desperation, but a fragile hope that by letting go, they might find a way back. It was a crisp morning when Rina stepped into a quiet cafe tucked in a side street near Piazza della Repubblica. She wore a soft beige coat and a silk scarf wrapped loosely around her neck. Her heart raced, not from fear, but anticipation. She spotted him at a corner table. Daniel. He was different from Andy. Dark tousled hair, green eyes that flickered with curiosity, and a confident, relaxed smile. He rose slightly as she approached, pulling out a chair for her. His gesture was smooth, practiced, but not insincere. "Rina, right?" "Yes. You must be Daniel." The cafe was filled with soft jazz and the scent of fresh coffee. Rina ordered a cappuccino. They talked about art, travel, the odd charm of Italian bureaucracy. Daniel was witty, and there was something magnetic in the way he listened, not just to her words, but the silences between them. She told herself this was just a conversation, a meeting, nothing more. But as the minutes passed, she felt herself drawn to him, not just physically but emotionally. There was a gentle intensity in his gaze, a way he leaned in when she spoke. When their hands accidentally brushed, it sent a ripple through her. When they finally stood to leave, Daniel smiled. "Would you like to do this again sometime?" Rina hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, I would." As she walked home, Florence looked different. The streets were the same, the air still carried the same scent of roasted chestnuts and old stone. But inside her, something had shifted. Rina lay in bed next to Andy, staring at the ceiling. His slow, even breaths told her he was asleep. The city lights painted pale shadows on the walls. She couldn't stop thinking about Daniel. Not just his smile or his eyes, but the way he made her feel. Seen. Wanted. The next few weeks became a blur of coffee dates, stolen glances, and cautious text messages. Rina kept telling herself she was in control. She had set boundaries. This was only about curiosity. But her heart began to betray her. Every time Daniel laughed, she felt warmth in places she thought had gone cold. She found herself longing for the next message, the next touch, the next moment. Andy noticed the change. He said nothing, but his smiles grew thinner, his touch more hesitant. One night, as they shared a bottle of wine on their balcony, Andy asked, "Are we okay?" Rina looked away. "I think so." She wanted to believe it. But even as she sat beside him, her mind wandered back to Daniel, to his voice, to the way he made her forget everything else. The phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. Rina, in a hurry, had left it there after rushing off to meet a friend. Andy had come home early from work, planning to surprise her with dinner. When he saw the phone screen light up, he noticed the name. Daniel. It was a simple message. A question. But the words were intimate, familiar. His heart sank. He didn't touch the phone, but he didn't need to. The truth was already echoing in his mind. When Rina returned, he was sitting silently at the kitchen table. Her smile faded the moment she saw his face. "What's wrong?" "You left your phone," he said. "Daniel messaged you." She froze. The room felt smaller, like the walls were closing in. "Andy, don't. Just tell me, is this more than what we agreed to?" She looked down, unable to speak. That was answer enough. The silence between them grew louder than any argument. Days passed in a fog. Rina moved through their apartment like a ghost, her footsteps barely making a sound. Andy became quieter, his movements mechanical. The air between them was no longer just tense, it was thick with unspoken words and unfinished thoughts. Rina tried to reach him, but every gesture was met with a cold distance. Andy wasn't cruel. He was hurt. She sat alone in the living room, staring at their wedding photo. In it, they were beaming, surrounded by friends and family. She traced the glass with her fingertips. Was this what freedom had cost? She remembered the first time Andy had kissed her. The way his hands trembled. The way he looked at her like she was the only thing that mattered. She missed that look. She missed being his. Tears slid silently down her cheeks. The silence wasn't just between them anymore. It had found a place in her. One evening, Andy broke the silence. They were cleaning up after dinner, neither of them speaking. He set a plate down and turned to her. "Why him?" Rina flinched. "I don't know. He made me feel something I haven't felt in a long time." "And I didn't?" She swallowed hard. "It's not that simple." Andy stepped closer. "You wanted honesty. I gave you that. But you didn't just explore, Rina. You got lost." She looked up at him, her voice cracking. "I didn't mean to. But you did." They stood in the middle of the kitchen, two strangers in familiar clothes. "I don't know how to fix this," she whispered. "Neither do I," Andy replied. The tension didn't break after that night. It settled deeper. They still shared a bed, but no longer touched. They still had meals together, but words were sparse. Rina tried to write Andy letters, but tore each one before he could read them. Daniel had sensed the change too. When she stopped replying, he didn't push. Maybe he understood. Maybe he didn't care. Rina spent hours walking through the city, retracing steps from better days. She visited the church where they were married, the bridge where Andy had proposed. The ghosts of their love lingered in every stone. She realized she didn't want more freedom. She wanted a way back. But she wasn't sure if Andy would ever offer it again. Andy found one of the torn letters in the trash. It wasn't whole, but it was enough. He sat at the edge of the bed, holding the pieces. In Rina's handwriting, he read fragments of pain, regret, and love. That night, he waited for her to come home. When she walked in, tired and silent, he handed her the torn letter. "I never stopped loving you," he said, "even when it hurt." She broke down in front of him. Not because he forgave her, but because he saw her. And for the first time in weeks, they cried together. They didn't rush. They didn't pretend nothing happened. They talked, sometimes for hours. Sometimes they sat in silence, holding hands. Rina ended things with Daniel for good. Not out of guilt, but out of clarity. They rebuilt their connection slowly. A walk in the park. A shared joke. A dance in the kitchen to a song from their wedding. There were still cracks, but light found its way through them. Months passed. The city changed with the seasons. So did they. Rina and Andy stood on their balcony one evening, watching the sun dip behind the hills. Her head rested on his shoulder. His hand held hers. "We're not the same as before," she said. "No," Andy replied. "But maybe we're something better." They didn't need grand declarations. Just this moment. Together. Still choosing each other. Every day.